Welcome back to Your Average Witch, where every month we talk about witch life, witch stories, and sometimes a little witchcraft. In this episode, I'm talking with Ivy of Ivy Tuning In. We talk about animals, astrology, and cultural influences on witchcraft. Now let's get to the stories. Ivy, hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you today?
I am awesome. Welcome to the show. I'm excited to finally get you on here.
I know I've been procrastinating coming on. I love podcasts and I love yours, so it's about time.
Can you please introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are and what you do and where they can find you?
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Ivy. I'm on all socials, especially TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, as Ivy Tuning In, spelt just how it sounds. And I am a longtime practitioner of different metaphysical practices, newer at Reiki healing, although I've always been interested in it. Um, I also break down hard concepts like astrology and the houses and all of the signs, archetypes and tarot. I can break all of that down for you to a more digestible, easier to understand explanation.
Cool. Yeah, when I got my natal chart once, it's so much. So
Mhm.
much.
It's a lot. Yeah, drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah. So do you call yourself a witch?
I definitely do, yes.
What does it
For
mean when you do that?
so I love this song by Devin Cole called Woman in Total Control of Herself. And that really sums up to me what it means is just someone who has complete autonomy over themselves, over what they believe, over how they respond to things, instead of like taking a script. Somebody who can, use their own critical thinking skills, take what resonates with them, and then leave the rest.
What kind of practice do you have?
I am very eclectic. I come from a Hispanic background, so I do feel called with like a lot of curandera practices, like the egg limpias. I am actually allergic to sage, so I don't use any sage in my home. I use Palo Santo instead, which a lot of Palo Santo comes from fallen trees in Ecuador, and my dad's from Ecuador. We just visited. Um, Other than that, I try to be really casual and just be really mindful with even everyday mundane things, incorporate some intention into everything. And, just the intention goes a long way.
I was just talking to a friend of mine about how everybody says, "Oh, just add it into your everyday life," but I don't have the energy.
It's right. So there's something called cognitive kindness. I used to be a big TED Talk nerd, so it was one of the ones that stood out to me is when you have to remember all of these things, it's the same thing as a mental load. Sometimes even adding it into the mundane things can be a lot of mental load to remember. Um, so, keep it playful. Like if it isn't fun for you, then find something else or don't worry about it. Something I've had to work on myself is like feeling guilty for not being consistent. So if it's making you feel bad, then let it go and find something that makes you feel good.
That ow. Ouch.
Oops.
But
I'm
also,
sure.
it is
Yeah.
more fun for me if I do it separately. So yay, I'm doing it
Yeah.
appropriately anyway. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have
I
anything that you do consistently?
barely. Um, oh, okay. So I didn't think of it as witchcraft until kind of as an adult, but ever since I was a little girl, you know how in school they'll make you stand up, put your hand on your heart, usually facing the flag,
Yes.
and have like a moment of silence, especially for all of us that lived through all those like
Oh,
terrible national tragedies. And they did, the moment of silence. Well, you see, it's kind of macabre, but whenever I see like an animal on the side of the road, who they're usually left there after getting hit, and it seems so unceremonious to me, even as a kid. I would always have a moment of silence for those animals, and even when I started driving, I would just like try to close my eyes real quick and just like have more of like a moment of silence for them. And then when I started really studying more practices and stuff, and finding out like Hecate is the queen of witches. She's at the crossroads. She helps lost souls, and she's usually surrounded by animals. Um, I started. I realized that, oh, this is like a really Hecate practice to do. So then I started kind of visualizing whatever kind of animal it is, kind of meeting up with Hecate and finding their way. Just try to give them a little bit more of a ceremony for a life that was lost. Does that make sense?
that is so sweet.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Homie, I'm doing that. I'm doing that. That is so sweet.
Yeah,
I mean, it's usually snakes and rabbits here, but that's so
yeah.
sweet.
I saw a rabbit yesterday, and I was like, oh, it looked little. It looked little, so sad. So yeah, I imagined rabbits, and rabbits have like a really they have a tie-in with like witchy history and stuff too. I love rabbits and cats and all animals.
If you will share this, who or what, because sometimes it's like books or something, gave you the best advice you've ever gotten, and will you share the advice?
Yes, cat. Yeah. Um, so ever since I was little, I just had an affinity with cats. We would rescue a lot of cats. And this is probably a weird answer, but we would rescue a lot of cats, but none of them would stay inside the house. They would just come and go. They were all like strays that we fed. And that type of mentality of like, again, autonomy and just not caring, not giving a fuck about anybody else, hissing at the wrong people, vibing and cuddling with the right people, like just their way of life, their cat's demeanor. That has been like the best example for me growing up. Um, Especially when like maybe the adults in my life weren't to the best example at the time. Um, I've always vibed with just like how cats live their life. And then, again with the TED Talks, there was one there was one about like just sitting in the sun, like when you're overwhelmed and everything, sit in the sun like a cat does. I'm like, yes, I'm doing it right. Just do what the cats do.
And they're really good at teaching consent.
100%. A lot of people don't get that. I was that girl, that crazy cat girl, like in school, that was like would always fight with somebody whenever they said dogs are better. I'm like, that's because you don't know how to love. Like, like people would start like just
Thinking
just
of an
saying things to
8-year-old
make me
saying
mad.
that
Yeah.
is hilarious.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What would you say is the biggest struggle in your practice?
100% consistency. Like I
Preach.
I'm a I'm a mom. I'm like working on finding a new way of life after getting laid off this year. Um, but just like finding some routine that's like daily, and I've struggled my whole life even just getting to work on time most of the time. So finding a way to like incorporate practices into daily routines when I don't really have a daily routine. So I'm pretty sure I'm ADHD, but you can imagine with that how hard it would be to consistently remind yourselves, which is when I remember to add practices into mundane things, it'll be like a fun little thing to do, like, ooh, I remembered. But other than that, I always do the moment of silence thing, and then I was raised pseudo Catholic, so a lot of guardian angel prayers, and I still do that, especially like, when you're going to sleep and you have that like that anxiety mind running over through all of like your plans. Um,
Boy,
or
do I.
yeah, yeah, or actually when I first moved to Tucson, I felt like there was like an entity that was like haunting our nightmares. So times like that, I would do the guardian angel oration in Spanish, like I was taught when I was little, because it's just it's comforting, and it was something that always helped me and my little sister go to sleep when we shared a room, and she used to have a lot of trouble going to sleep. Um, you just say it, you say amen, and then you go to sleep. So it's always been something that calms me down.
It's okay if you say no to this, but can you share that?
I will do my best. uh, English technically wasn't my first language, but I was raised with it a lot. But then, like, as I got older and learned actual Spanish, I realized I was saying a lot of things wrong. So, forgive me, anyone who knows their own version, because there's different versions too. But yeah, I could totally say it. So it's Ángel de la Guarda, ni de dulce compañía, sorry, y de dulce compañía. No me desampares, ni de noche ni de día, hasta que me ponga con paz y alegría, con todos los santos, Jesús y María. Amen.
That's cool. I
Yeah.
understood a couple of the words.
Yeah.
Spanish
Well,
won't stay in my brain because German has sort of taken it over, but I understand one or two.
yeah, oh no, most of my life I was saying it wrong until I realized like, oh, that's supposed to be like an actual word, and none of those things I because I used to say like ni de dulce compañía, which means like not of sweet company, but so that's why I switched it back. Like, no, it's supposed to be and of sweet company, I'm assuming. But then when I look it up, there's like huge long ones, and I'm like, that is not what we said when I was little. So I'm just trying to keep it close to the original that I learned.
That's so neat.
Uh-huh.
I don't, I didn't really pray as a kid, but I think like the Lord's Prayer is really nice and semi threatening. And I kind of like that.
Or like and I only know this one because of Metallica, but the "As I Lay Me Down to Sleep," it's kind of like that. Yeah, if I went to church as a kid, it was definitely all in Spanish.
Thanks.
But
Thanks, Metallica. Shout out
yeah,
Metallica.
yeah, so I don't know what the Lord's Prayer is. But
It's the one, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall
yeah,
not want. I like that one.
okay, okay, like that.
Especially the part, and though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, I will fear no evil.
Yes, okay, yes,
I like
Gangster's
that one.
Paradise. I'm just kidding. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah.
No, no, yeah, but that's exactly what I mean about like being a witch. You take what vibes right with you, and then
Yep.
leave the rest. So, and there's a reason, like there's a reason why that vibes with us, and then when we meet up together, we can like share it with each other and the meaning, rather than like getting the diluted version that we get from like TV or songs, like I did. But that's nice.
Please tell me about your favorite meal, like especially what you ate, why it's your favorite,
Mhm.
who was there, and why you ended up eating that thing with those people at that time.
Okay, okay. Um, so currently my favorite meal, it's only available like in Florida, which is sad because I don't live in Florida anymore, but we just visited and I had it like every other day.
Oh, I love
Um,
that.
there's it's technically fast food. They have a drive-through and everything, but it's not, the majority of it isn't fried. It's like cooked over a grill, a open fire grill. It's white rice, black beans, and then like grilled chicken, and it's from a place called Pollo Tropical, my absolute favorite place. Um, but basically any variation of that, like a really good roasted tropical chicken, like with the citrusy like marinades, things like that, and like adobo, and then white rice and black beans. Like that's just it's what I grew up with. It's my comfort food.
I was going to say it
Um,
sounds so comforting.
yeah, yeah. Like when we lived in Florida, anytime I had like a really bad day, my husband would go out and get that for me. And now he's actually learned how to roast the chicken himself. Like I
Ooh.
used to be the only one to make like the whole chicken in the oven, things like that. But he's recently been learning how to make all different kinds. We even got a smoker, and it's still
Hell
a
yeah.
comfort meal. Yeah. Yeah, and then it's become a comfort meal for my daughter too. So
Aw.
because she's mixed, but she definitely carries a lot of like the culture that I've passed on to her, like liking rice and beans and chicken and dancing, Colombian food, um, and where along to answer your question about like who was there with me, like I usually eat it surrounded by family. So either my parents, my sister when I was little, now my husband and my daughter. It's just a very family oriented meal to share.
That is so freaking heartwarming. Heartwarming.
Heart- and heartwarming now.
Yum. What's something you wish was discussed more in the magical community?
So it's talked about a lot already, but I don't think the how pervasive it is in the community is addressed, and that's like the kind of inherent internalized misogyny and racism and all of the bad things that the patriarchy kind of puts into the toxic patriarchy puts into everything like media. Like it's fun being a witch, but sometimes we'll still kind of inherently see that as like you have to look a certain way or you have to act a certain way, and that's not always the case. Like me growing up Hispanic, the witch representation I got that I loved was like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, a lot of like Harry Potter, Harry Potter, um, and and none of that really goes into my culture's like different practices until recently. It's popped up a little bit more in popular media, but still not a lot. But there's a lot of different practices between indigenous cultures in Southern America who have like their own pantheon of deities revolved around like the sun, just like the Western or just like the European deities have. But like they have the sun, but then they have like the Andes Mountains and the rivers and all of these different concepts. Like in Colombia, we have an owl goddess that's both like she's married, but she's a rebel even to her husband. She's a goddess
Good.
of like dance and music. She has a very like footloose type story where like dancing was illegal, but she like danced anyway. And that's it's stuff that is a concept or an archetype through all human culture, but we were only really seeing one version of it through like the more Western European examples. And even that, I don't know if you've heard, but almost everybody knows the Odyssey with Odysseus and Athena and Poseidon. And they're making a movie of it. Christopher Nolan's making a movie of it, and that's going to release, I think, this summer. But he's apparently, from what I hear, he's making this Odyssey movie based off of Emily Wilson's version. And I started listening to Emily Wilson's Odyssey, and just the prologue itself was so helpful because she tells you all of the context that you need to be aware of to understand why the Odyssey is represented the way it is. And it's from like, there's not actual one author that we can 100% credit for the whole story, and how it's kind of been skewed even by like the monarchies, whoever was royalty at the time, they would hold festivals to see who could orate the Odyssey truest to the source or the canon. So they had like a correct way of orating the Odyssey. And then even how like slaves are depicted in the Odyssey, like it very much gives a concept of there's good slaves and there's bad slaves, and if you're if you're a slave that's going against your master in any way, or you're thinking of yourself, you're a bad slave, and terrible things happen to them. So I'm just, the she explains it well in a way to say like, take it with a grain of salt, because the Odyssey is essentially like colonial, like slavery propaganda, you
Wow,
know.
like the Bible.
So yeah, and there's a lot of things that, like, dancing is sacred for a lot of it, indigenous cultures and beliefs, and it gets demonized in a lot of Western, like anything too seductive or provocative gets demonized, when actually like your body literally needs that to shake off trauma.
God forbid anybody take responsibility for their own reactions to what my body does or what I'm wearing.
Mhm.
I think that one of my friend's ears perked up at the owl goddess thing, and I'm wondering, she lives near us. She lives in Marana.
Cool, cool.
Maybe we can meet up and we can all talk about it.
Yeah, her name is, and again, I'm not sure on the pronunciation because it's also an indigenous word, not just Spanish, which that's two different things. Anyway, but it's Huitaca, Huitaca. I love her. As soon as I read about her, I vibed with her, and then I tried to like collect more owl things. And my daughter's favorite animal as like a baby, when she was like first learning about animals, was always an owl. Um, but yeah, Huitaca, and she's really cool.
That is cool. Do you do spells?
I do.
Okay.
The the main ones that I tend to do is usually been to like help my loved ones. Um, we don't work there anymore, and the guy actually, he worked there for even less time. But one of my loved ones' managers was just being a real like arsehole, like huge to him specifically. So we wrote his name down, put it in a bottle of vinegar, put that in the freezer. So the good old name in the freezer thing, which a lot of people will do like as like folky practices, not even if they don't consider themselves witches entirely, but that was one that I do. I guess what makes it more witchy when I do stuff is like I'll ask for help from like our spirit team, call in the like northwest, southeast, not in that order necessarily, but yeah. um, that's when I do a lot, and then I do some candle magic and a lot of gratitude practices for my spirit team.
What do you do for that?
Um, so I take a lot of it from like Dia de los Muertos, where when you're honoring your dead loved ones on Day of the Dead, you like leave food or specific type of flowers or incense for them. So I'll get like dried rose petals. Like if I get flowers or something, or find a flower and like let it dry out, I'll keep the petals and like sprinkle that, essential oils, just whatever I think is nice at the time. Um,
Do you have an
and
altar?
kind of like my whole family is aware of my spirituality, so I do keep like, I kind of keep things everywhere. my house stays a mess, to be honest. So there's not really a good dedicated place that wouldn't be like knocked down by cats either.
Yep.
I have four
Yep.
cats. Yeah. So right now, I have my kitchen bar has three candles um, for different deities, and then a water fountain that is currently not running because it dried out, and I haven't cleaned it up to put water back in it.
That's cool.
I'm also like of that kind of animist, or like I think it's called Jinto in Japanese, where like you kind of believe everything has its own spirit. So I acknowledge that my house has its own spirit, and um I don't know, like the whole house is an altar in a way too. Does that make
Ooh,
sense?
that's huh. That is going to require some thought for me later. Can you compare the first spell you ever tried with the most recent one you've done?
Yes. So when I was like a teenager, and my parents were never really super religious. We went to church occasionally, but my mother actually took out a book from the library on Wicca, and she was reading it, but of course I was like sneaking reading it too. And one of the first things it said was to like just stare at a candle, just like stare at the flame, and like see if you can like make it move or see anything in it. And it was, I'm a pyromaniac, so I like I played with matches as a kid and everything. So I definitely just like stared at it and just enjoyed staring at the flame. Um so that I consider like my first spell, but you know, like kids kind of have their own way of doing little manifestation magic. I know mine does. She gets whatever she wants most of the time. Um, and then most recently, it was candle magic again to help ease a transition, because I had we have a few chicks, and we had two turkey chicks, and then one unfortunately wasn't thriving. So I brought her inside to try and see, like, perk her up and get her to start eating again, and it just wasn't happening. So I made her as comfortable as possible. I lit a candle for her, and then like prayed for her transition to be comfortable at least. Um, and
That's
then
so
like that,
kind.
yeah, that night was when she passed.
That's so kind. That's nice. That's
Oh.
sweet.
I'm very you know, some people don't believe animals have souls and stuff, but I could never believe that. Like,
That's a bizarre thought.
right?
That's
I
bizarre.
like I've mourned every pet, and sometimes it's hard for me to like to even like step on an ant. I'm like, oh no, like yeah. My and you know, but my daughter loves bugs, and it's probably
Yeah.
just because I'm so reverent to everything now. She just like brings all the bugs in. I'm like, okay, I guess we have to take care of this now.
What two people have had the biggest influence on your practice?
So, in Florida, I started going to a women's circle, and I did a lot of research on my own beforehand on like witchy stuff, listened to a lot of podcasts, but in Florida, at the first women's circle that I went to, she was like a former yoga teacher turned like spiritual facilitator. She does women's retreats and everything. Her name is Jennifer Wyatt, and she's part of Wander Free Wellness. She was able to like really just hold space for everyone, like witchy or not. And it just so happened that the first one I went to was a Samhain women's circle, and it was very witchy, and I was just bawling the whole time because I was like, oh my God, it's safe to be like witchy in front of these people. She's like encouraging it, and like even though the like ladies there that weren't witchy, they were like having fun and dancing and saying stuff. So it was just such like a freeing experience to see the ability to practice like in public in a way, um, be safe and okay. And more recently, I was finally attuned for Reiki, locally here in Tucson by Michelle Ojeda, I think is pronounced. But Michelle's such a sweet soul, and I was going to her for a couple years for Reiki for me and my husband, and it always like either shifted something in us or helped us understand or just have more capacity for life. Um, so I've been told by palm readers before that I would like I have Reiki hands or have like good energy for Reiki, but I never really like looked into it that much until I found out that she did classes and she's more of a teacher now. She still does her own practice, but she definitely teaches a lot and has a lot of students. So I finally went to her and got attuned. So I'm Reiki level 1 now.
That's cool.
Yeah, and she's cool. She shares a lot of the beliefs that I do in a way of like there's a structure and there's rules to almost every practice, but really sticking for what resonates with you. And because even with Reiki, it's not like a one size fits all. Like some people get tingling in their hands, some people get tingling in their heart, like almost like heartburn. Like it's everybody's body's different and everybody's spirit's different. So she really understands that, and she doesn't try to make people feel guilty if they don't follow the rules to a T, you know? And I need that.
That's nice. Do you remember a time when somebody was the most kind to you?
So there's been plenty of times where people have been kind, right? But sometimes it's like those random acts of kindness that like stand out. And unfortunately, like as a kid, I more most of my memories with adults are of them being mean to me in some way, either like about my weight or my grades or like just find a reason. They they have something to say that about something you could do better, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was in a really, really low spot. I think I was only like 15. Um, and me and my sister were home alone, which like we were kind of used to, but you know, as a teenager, you start getting like really angsty and like, why me? Um, and my sister and I had gotten into a fight, which we did all the time. Like we kind of lived constantly stressed out.
Oh, your siblings.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Whew.
That's how it works.
I just like I had to be like her mom is the thing. So
Oh, no, that's
whenever I think
frustrating.
about yeah, whenever I think about like how much we fought and stuff when she needed a mother, like it shouldn't have been my job. Like we're only like 3.5 years apart. But like so whenever I look back on it, I still kind of feel guilty that I wasn't like a better mom for her. But you know, I was also a kid. Anyway, so I was 15 and it was a particularly loud fight, and we lived like in a duplex and kind of a not so great area. And our newest neighbor in the duplex, like she could hear us screaming, so she came over and was knocking on the door, and I wasn't going to answer it at first. And I forget why I opened the door, but I opened the door, and I think she saw me crying and she just gave me like the biggest hug. And I like still think about that. Like I know I don't know her name. I don't we never really like talked or socialized beyond that, but I don't know. Like she sensed that I just like needed a hug, and she just like hugged me for a minute or so.
That woman is a witch.
Yeah, probably.
Holy crap. That would scare the
Mhm.
life out of me now, but
Yeah. Yeah. I know there's like a lot of things like there I got lost as like a little kid And like I fell asleep while they were getting their car, my parents were getting their car fixed. And then when I woke up, they weren't there anymore. So I was like 5 and I like ran out and some like nice old Hispanic lady found me in the parking lot and then she walked towards a car and I was like excited to get into their car. Like I wanted to get into their car.
Let's
And
go.
but then they were like, "No, we're gonna go inside to the store and have them call on the intercom for your parents." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
It reminds me of all those cute puppy stories. She just jumped in the seat. I don't know. Now
I
she's
was about
ours.
to. I was about to. I think my parents felt so bad they got me like a new watch, which at the time like a little digital watch was like hot shit,
Yeah.
and and it was Mortal Kombat themed. It had like yeah. I think my neighbor had Mortal Kombat, and I was like obsessed with it at the time.
Yeah. A watch with buttons was fancy time.
Yeah, back in the early '90s, the late 1900s.
Oh my God.
I know.
Oh my God. Who do you think I should have on the show?
I I was talking about you with Michelle, my Reiki mentor, and I definitely think she'd be a great person to have on the show. She has like a lot of really cool stories and with all her experience with Reiki, like I didn't have enough time to even like hear them all. So I'd love for you to extract them from her.
On it.
Good.
Is there anything else you wanted to bring up? Anything going on with you? Anything you want to shout out? Anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about? Any questions you've had for me?
If you want, we could talk about a little bit about your natal chart and maybe if there's anything that's questioning that you're questioning, I can see if I can help you with it if you're open to that.
Okay.
Because to be honest, I forgot your star sign. Wait,
I
no,
just had my
you said it here,
birthday over the
Taurus. Taurus.
weekend.
Oh, you did. Okay. Happy belated birthday, Taurus.
Thanks. So Jupiter, is it in Taurus now, or or maybe it was that Uranus left Taurus? Something big just happened.
Oh, so a recent big transit.
And I don't remember which one it was. I think it might be both.
When big transits, I think of all of this as like astrological weather. Like, how's the weather today? Is Mercury doing something?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm I'm not as much of a forecaster as I am just like interpreter. So typically what I'll do is I'll go to like those influencers that are forecasters and then like hear what they say, but then kind of interpret it in my own way.
Yeah.
So Jupiter itself, the Greek equivalent is Zeus, and that's the energy of Jupiter is of expansion. Sometimes like considered of like luck or fortune, but really like whatever's going on in Jupiter, um, where that is in your birth chart, it'll expand that. So for me, as an example, my Jupiter is in Cancer. So I have big like family energy, like creating like a safe space for multiple people. Like I think that's part of the reason why like I gravitate towards kids a lot. Me and my husband, we're from the same grade class in high school, and so we have a lot of similar outer planets. Like his Jupiter's in Cancer too, Pluto in Scorpio. That's like everybody of a generation has similar outer planets. But what I find like with him is will kind of mesh together that way. Like we were considered like the Pixar parents wherever we hung out, and that was like before we had kids. So, so it's because like we were just really good at being kind of like the mom and dad of the group. Like he would make sure everybody had like the right structure, or was like play. We played a lot of card games, so like Magic the Gathering. Um, we've played Yu-Gi-Oh for a hot minute, but not really. But like Magic the Gathering, there used to be an old Marvel DC card game, and then a World of Warcraft card game were our main big ones. But he would like build the decks for everybody, and then I would like vibe check everyone and make sure everybody was like happy, but also not being bullies because like I was the only girl. So when they started being, like misogynistic or cursing in front of children, I would be the one to be like, hey, no,
Good.
don't do that. So
My
I
Jupiter is in Capricorn.
Capricorn, very cool. That's cool. So stereotypically Capricorn's like the like hard worker and also like obsessed with money. And the stereotype is there because so Capricorn is a cardinal sign of winter. So um, right as fall is ending, and then like the harsh winter, like the actual not so fun parts of like the winter, I guess scarcity that starts coming up. Capricorn is there to make sure everybody's in line and usually like following traditional like rules for how to conserve food, resources, and make sure everybody's like aligned together to keep the village going. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Whereas the next sign after you is Aquarius. They're the fixed sign of winter. Um, so it's like the dead of winter, midwinter, and Aquarius are typically known for being innovative. So while Capricorn like uses traditional methods to try and keep resources available, Aquarius may be the one having to face like, okay, we've used up our resources somehow. That means something's changed, something's different. The traditional way is not working. Let me go find like literally the water bearer. Let me go find where we can get water from, like where we can tap into more resources, and then bring that back to the village.
That that was good.
Thank you. And there's more where that came from. If you go to Ivy Tuning In on TikTok, Instagram, and website at ivytuningin.com.
So I ask two things of my guests. I mean, far more than that. But we're at the part where I say this part.
Okay.
Can you recommend something to listeners? It doesn't have to be witch related at all. Just whatever cool thing you've run across this week that you want to tell people about. Like, hey, you should try this new sandwich at wherever.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. Anything at all.
Okay. So I was yesterday years old when I found out that there's a earth placement that not a lot of astrologers, I guess, work with, and it's called Gaia, and it sits exactly opposite of your sun. So I'm an
What?
Aries sun,
What?
and my Gaia would be Libra. And supposedly, your Gaia is what can help ground you. And I have a lot of Earth placements, and I feel like I can ground myself if need me. But um, I've had this like angsty, like oh, what's the word? Hesitance towards Libra and like Libra energies because I don't have Libra anywhere in my chart, I guess, other than Gaia. Now that I realize that's my Gaia, um, and I used to not like Virgo energy that much until I realized it's my rising sign. So Virgo is my rising sign. So usually, if you're having a hesitance towards something, it absolutely 100% has to do with you. And you can either do shadow work and some inner work to figure out, like, why do I feel negative about this or judgmental about this certain thing. Uh, so my Gaia sign is something I'm looking into for Libra. And there's probably some like Libra vibe stuff that would be really grounding for me. Like I know I'm working on like self-care. Libra's ruled by Venus, so Aphrodite, and there's a lot of like self-love practices that I'm like trying to start doing. And I was like, okay, maybe I need to look into some Libra stuff and see how that could what resonates with me and what would work for me.
So if there is something in that, like mine is Scorpio.
Yes.
So if you have a placement in there, huh? My Lilith is in Scorpio. That's
Oh,
interesting. So
my
look it
Lilith
up.
is in Scorpio too. My husband's a Scorpio, so he sometimes he'll address my Lilith directly, like I see you there, Lilith. He calls out like my brat energy.
You know what? That makes sense.
But yeah, no, Lilith is cool and very, very. There's like a huge part of the feminine that's suppressed, and that's the part where we call people out, and that's like Lilith, just like call people out, call them out on their shit, and like expect that change. Like the like the feminine response of like I deserve better, you need to change your shit or this won't work type thing.
That sounds very Taurus to me.
Yeah, well, Taurus is also ruled by Venus. So, yeah, I think maybe there's just like a whole
Huh.
there's there's like there's feminine energies that kind of are all encompassing, and I don't necessarily mean like that means only women experience it. No, like we all have like feminine and masculine energies inside us. So like technically my Aries sun is a more masculine energy. And it all balances itself out because we're all whole humans. We're not just one thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next thing is please tell me a story. It can be a story that you heard in childhood that you like, or it's a story about, let me not say about, a story from your life that you like telling.
hmm So I've talked about cats a bit already, so I'm gonna kind of go to the origin story of my obsession with cats. But
Yay!
yay! So I was actually born in Southern California, California girl, and it was like a more urban area that we lived in, Van Nuys, and we always lived in apartment complexes that had like a ton of stray cats. And one of these apartment complexes, it had like a connected big backyard that was like all concrete and then went downstairs to the actual street for parking. So it was like a almost like a big elevated back alley, and then we get cats. We've gotten possums back there. And I remember one day I was in the back in just like a kiddie pool, and one of the cats came up, and I really wanted to play with the cat, but I also didn't want to get out of the pool. So this is like where my cat whisperer origin started. Like I convinced that cat. I think I was like 4 or 5. I convinced that cat to come in the pool with me, and I was just like, "Come here, kitty, kitty, kitty," and then it came in, and I grabbed it and just like held it there, screaming for my mom to come see and ask if we could keep it. So we did end up keeping it, but like we
Yay!
we half kept cats, so they would still go out and come back. So it was more of just like a street cat that we fed. But yeah, that was my cat whisperer
That's
origin
sweet.
story.
Okay, do you want to try and craft a spell together?
Mhm. I should I grab anything?
Only make believe.
Make believe. Okay.
So the way I do things is I just decide, oh, I need to do whatever.
hmm
And then I just wander around until something says, hey, this, what do I have in front of me here? This 20-sided die is really sparkly. What am I going to, this is just an example. Like I could use this to symbolize chance,
hmm
or I could pick a number and just use that as the focal point. That's how I do things. So first we have to figure out what we're trying to do and then see if How do you do things like that? How do you decide how you're going to start your working?
It's a good question. I kind of if there's like a need, I um I find out if there's like a deity associated with it, or if there's like a stone or plant that I have on hand, or even like a color associated with the vibe, and then I just do stuff with that. Typically, it's a candle. Candles is my go-to for me. So either a white candle or correlating to the color, and then sprinkle herbs or flower petals, a dab or dash of essential oil, and then just like set my intention. And I don't even really like say anything. I just kind of like set my intention.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Let's say,
or we could make up like a cool rhyming, like an actual spell. That's a little more ambitious. Yeah, it's a little more ambitious.
I actually am okay at doing that with other people, but I can't. That's not something I can do by myself. Because once it's my brain is like, okay, this is the word I thought of. That's the only word you can think of for the next 20 minutes. And I'm like, oh, great, thanks.
That's funny.
Pigeon. What? Okay, great. We're just thinking about pigeons for 20 minutes and I can't. What rhymes? I don't know. Just think about pigeons. So that's why having another person helps.
Okay.
But let's see what we're gonna think. What are we doing it for?
Okay, so it's Wednesday, which is associated with like Odin or Mercury, like Hermes, like the messenger god. So typically Wednesday is a good day for messages, and then Hermes can also rule like your inner dialogue. So maybe we can do like a spell for better self-talk.
To hear more of the members-only episode, head over to crepuscularconjuration.com. The monthly magic tier gets access to the Marco Polo group and the written monthly spells. You also get bonus podcast episodes, coloring pages, guided meditations, spellcrafting videos, printable downloads, and a lot more. There's even free stuff. The Witchy Wonderment tier will give you free samples of everything I just mentioned. You can also visit my shop, Clever Kim's Curios, to get spell boxes, one at a time or by monthly subscription, intentional handcrafted jewelry that I make especially for witches, and handmade altar tools. You can even listen to the full Your Average Witch podcast library, including show notes and transcripts. Check it out at crepuscularconjuration.com. Thanks for listening to this episode of Your Average Witch. You can find us all around the internet, on Instagram at Your Average Witch Podcast, at www.youraveragewitch.com, and on your favorite podcast feeder. If you'd like to recommend someone for the podcast, like to be on it yourself, or if you'd like to advertise on the podcast, send an email to youraveragewitchpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next Tuesday.